Peace, peace, peace. What's up, people? We meet again. Sorry for the delay. You know, I had things to do and whatnot. But like I said, good to see you all. And here we go again for another night of drama. And let me see. All right, before I proceed, can you guys hear me? Peace, peace. You can hear me, right? Thank you. Okay, tonight, hopefully, I'm going to try and keep this an hour long and no longer, please. I got things to do. Ultra, good to see you. Good to see you. Rahi, good to see you. Good to see you all. Now, yeah, as you can see from the title, unfortunately, this has to be addressed again. Um, I wanted to do a few more videos about other topics, but unfortunately, there's been some events lately that I'm sure you guys are aware of that has forced me to address this. So tonight, this will be addressed, and the videos discussing certain topics that I wanted to discuss, they will uh, they will follow. So with that being said, tonight's discussion is about a group of people who we have lovingly referred to as Sunni 2.0, semi Sunnis, diet Sunnis, amongst many other befitting titles. And the reason they have been given these titles is for no other reason other than they have presented online a watered down version of Al Sunnah wal Jama'ah. They have referred to this watered down version of Al Sunnah wal Jama'ah as following the Quran alone. Now, following the Quran alone has never been about watering down the Sunnah. That was never the intention behind following the Quran alone. Neither was the intention behind following the Quran alone to quote unquote reject hadith. It wasn't even anti hadith that was the motivation. The motivation wasn't to be anti hadith, to be against the hadith. Um, it wasn't even to be somewhat to even come across as though you're traumatized by the hadiths or that you even dislike the hadiths. That was never the intention. However, what we have come across online lately are a group of people who are blatantly, obviously, um, traumatized by the hadith, it appears, because they cannot stop talking about hadiths. They cannot stop talking about how much they are against the hadiths and how much the hadiths contradict themselves and etc. etc. To be honest with you, they seem to have the same talking points as precisely. They seem to have and use the same talking points as people who are Islamophobic, people who constantly accuse or associate, Muslims with um, all kinds of untoward statements, which I'm sure you guys have a few ideas as I'm saying this already. Now, it appears as though, considering how much against Islam the media has been for quite some time now, it appears as though two groups of people have been, it's given birth to two groups of people from the Muslim world. And that is peace, Hamza. Peace, peace. No worries, Hamza. We will definitely catch up. It appears as though two groups of people sorry, as I was saying, the media has given birth to two groups of people. One group being those who now refer to themselves as ex-Muslims, and another group, to me, honestly, seems to be this group who refer to themselves as, or who are referred to as hadith rejectors. You might be surprised by hearing me say that, but I'll tell you the reason why. The reason is simply, if you look at how the ex-Muslims and the hadith rejectors, or these types of hadith rejectors, you might look at me and say, hey, you're a hadith rejector yourself, but I'll explain it to you in a moment. If you look at how these two groups present themselves, or the talking points that they constantly use, it's it's as though they are dog whistling to those who constantly put out Islamophobic content. Meaning, the ex-Muslims seem to want to present themselves to those group of people as though, hey, I may be brown like those people, but I don't think like those people. You see, I think like you people. That's how they want to present themselves. In fact, even the those from the far right will tell you that themselves. For instance, this remember this ex-Muslim, so-called, this German ex-Muslim guy who committed that atrocious act in Germany not so long ago. The far right people, they this is what they said. They said the ex-Muslims are basically people who want to see themselves or present themselves as though they are part of us, but they are not part of us. This is what the far right people will tell you themselves. And that's the image, really and truly, that the ex-Muslims want to present to the Western world. Now, these hadith rejectors, these particular hadith rejectors that I'm talking about, look at their content. Their entire content is all about being against the Sunnis and the Sunni material. That's it. They have nothing else to present to you. They have nothing to teach you from the Quran. They have nothing to argue for from the Quran. They're not coming from the Quran at all. They're just anti-hadith. You don't have to take my word for it. In a moment, we'll go into their to their channels and look at the videos that they produce, and you won't barely see any content that has anything to do with the Quran. It's always about being against the Sunnah and being against the Hadiths. As opposed to my content, there is literally nothing talking about the Sunnah. Literally nothing. I don't think I've made a single video where I discussed a single hadith. Not one. All of my videos are about the Quran. And they're about important topics in the Quran. Very important topics. So, in the issue that I have with these hadith rejectors is they bring our position into disrepute, because when people look at their content and they think, okay, these are the people who reject hadith, who only follow the Quran. What is following the Quran about? And they look at their content, all they're going to see is Sunni hatred. All they're going to see is Sunnah hatred. That's it. And then obviously people are going to think, well, these people don't have much to say for themselves. I mean, besides hating on the Sunnah, and besides being against the Sunnah, what do they have to say for their position? And they don't have much to say for their position. So it's going to bring the position into disrepute. Not only that, to take things further, the arguments that they have are full of flaws that can be taken down by anyone. So if you're going to say you're following the Quran, and yet all your arguments, or a lot of your arguments, are easily refutable, then what do you make the position look like? You make the position look weak, don't you? And that's the problem that we're having here. There is nothing personal here. The issue is making the position look weak. And then they take things further than making the position look weak. They're making completely unjustifiable claims and associating them to the Quran. Now, me and one of them at least have been going back and forth a few videos. But now they've taken it a step further. Now they have gone for, literally, they have gone for the only scholar, the only actual scholar there is in this particular field. And that is none other than Hamza Abdul Malik himself. You see, this term scholar is usually just thrown around. However, if there is a scholar in this particular field, then it's someone who's studied extensively what they call the Abrahamic books, if you will. Someone who's studied extensively what is called the Abrahamic religions. That is the only individual that can be referred to as a scholar. Especially someone who's done this longer than I've been alive, and longer than the individual who's attempting to challenge him, longer than he's been alive. This Hamza Abdul Malik has been doing this. And the other difference with Hamza Abdul Malik and these others is that Hamza Abdul Malik is the only independent individual who does not get any funding from any government or any institution. Your quote unquote idols, the people that you look up to, the people that you consider to be legends in this particular field, Hamza has sat next to, ate with, and obviously studied with, namely Ahmed Didat, Khalid Yassin, and others. When Hamza Abdul Malik discusses any particular topic, you will find that he proves his argument using the scripture itself, never his own arguments or his own ideas and etc. Everything is demonstrable. If you ever wondered where I get my particular methodology, where I try to make things demonstrable to you and use the Quran to explain itself, then look no further than Hamza Abdul Malik himself. Now, I don't know where these kids have been raised, but the disrespect is unbelievable. To constantly mention someone's age, I swear to you, I counted it. Well, I tried to count it. Once I realized it's getting to over 100, then there was no point, was there? To constantly mention his age over and over and over and over again. But the funny thing is, please go and watch Hamza Abdul Malik's videos. You've never seen anyone sharper than him in your life. Nothing goes over him. Not a single word goes over him. Literally none. And you mention age as though it's a factor here. And then the arguments. This is why I keep saying they bring our position into disrepute. Let's look at the arguments. Some of the arguments that they had with each other, shall we say. So some that I can think of right now are yeah, actually, I may be the culprit for this one, and that is A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim. You see, there is a difference between doing something because you like doing it and claiming it's in the Quran. When I said A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim, that was just something I grew up with. I never said it's in the Quran. But if we're going to discuss what's in the Quran, chapter 1698 and 1699, once I looked it up, I was satisfied because it was pretty straightforward. However, the individual tried to have that argument with none other than Hamza Abdul Malik himself. And then he tried to use mystical, magical Arabic. You see, the reason why mystical, magical Arabic is used as an argument is because the Quran is crystal clear. It is universal beyond belief, meaning literally it can be understood in any language and anyone can understand it, provided people do not try to conceal it by intimidating people with the language. By intimidating people with the language. And that is the only weapon that is used. They attempt to intimidate people using the language. Now, the Sunnis couldn't do it. Now we have the semi Sunnis. Once they realize that obviously they're up against Hamza Abdul Malik and myself, and there is literally no argument that they can come up with, they thought, hey, let's use the Arabic against them. However, they undermine the Quran. They really do. In their attempt to undermine people, they undermine the Quran. They don't realize how ridiculously clear the Quran is. So what does? I'll give you guys an example. Look how clear the Quran is. 1698 and 1699. So it says, when you recited the Quran, then seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. The next verse. Indeed, he not for him authority over those who they believed in their Lord and they put their trust. I'm reading word for word in case you're wondering why it sounds a bit strange. Now, if you don't pay attention, you might miss it. But if you pay close attention, then you will see precisely what it means when it says, then seek refuge in God. If you just pay attention to those two verses, the Arabic is a non-factor here. And the reason is simply in the next verse, 1699, when it says, indeed, the word for word is a bit too much. He has no power over those who believe and put their trust in their Lord. Just pay attention to that. He has no power, he being Satan. He has no power over those who believe and put their trust in their Lord. Think about it now. He has no power over those who believe and put their trust in the Lord. Meaning, if you believe and put your trust in your Lord, he has no power over you. That's what the verse says. Look, he has no power over those who believe and put their trust in their Lord. So, by definition, if you believe and put your trust in your Lord, he has no power over you. One equals the other, one results in the other. If you believe and put your trust in your Lord, he has no power over you. It's automatic. You see that? So, all you need to do in order to have refuge from Satan in God, all you need to do is believe and put your trust in your Lord. Now, how do you get to that position when you believe and put your trust in your Lord? How do you get to that stage? In order to get to that stage, you would need to, let's go to the verse before. You would need to read the Quran. You would need to read the Quran. Once you have read the Quran, you can now be in a position where you believe and put your trust in your Lord. Now that you are in a position where you believe and you put your trust in your Lord, Satan has no power over you. Do you follow me? You've read the Quran, you believe and put your trust in your Lord, Satan has no power over you. Look how they follow each other. For Satan to have no power over you, you would have to believe and put your trust in your Lord. For you to believe and put your trust in your Lord, you would have had to read the Quran. Do you see that? So Arabic is a non-factor here. What is also a non-factor here is the idea that you need to utter, I seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. You don't need to utter it. You need to believe. It says it in the next verse. He has no power over those who believed and put their trust in their Lord. I didn't say that. That's what the verse says. Notice how Arabic is a non-factor here. How do you get to a stage where you believe and in your Lord you put your trust? How do you get to that stage? You would have had to read the Quran. So, and if you believe and put your trust in your Lord, Satan has no power over you. So at what point do you actually need to utter it? Considering that. Tell me in the comments. At what point do you need to utter it, considering that? 1698, 1699. When's the utterance going to come? Can you guys hear me? That's just to prove that Arabic is a non-factor here. When you read the Quran and follow it, you are seeking refuge in God from Satan. This is an action done, not words said. Absolutely. Just looking at these two verses here, there is no opinion of mine involved. Look at what the look at just look at 1699. Indeed, this is what the word for word says, just so that no one believes that there is any opinion of mine involved. Indeed, he not for him authority or power over those who they believed in, and in their Lord they put their trust. That's what the verse says. Satan has no power over those who believed and in their Lord put their trust. So there's no saying involved. You see that? And the verse before, you have so when you've read the Quran. I mean, that goes without saying. Because when are you going to get to a stage where you believed and you've put your trust in your Lord? When are you going to get to that stage? When you have read the Quran. It's a complete non-factor here. I appreciate that. Now, Hamza Abdul Malik took another route. He took an academic route. He thought we were dealing with reasonable people here. The route he took was one where he simply identified the fact that فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ is a perfect verb. فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ is a perfect verb. You didn't argue with him that it's a perfect verb. You didn't say, no, Hamza, you're wrong. It's not a perfect verb. You didn't say that. You didn't argue against the definition of a perfect verb. You didn't even argue against that. It wasn't a case of, no, Hamza, you're wrong in how you defined a perfect verb. A perfect verb can be used in this way and that way, etc., etc. You didn't argue that either. What you did is called a whataboutery or whataboutism. You pointed at a completely different word, meaning a completely different grammar. And then you didn't even hide the fact that you're discussing a completely different grammar, talking about, what was it, past passive particle or something. You're talking about a completely different grammar. You're not talking about the grammar he's talking about. And then you argued, what did you say? Oh, you tried to use the whole English and Arabic stuff again. The English and Arabic stuff. What? There's no perfect verb in Arabic? What are you arguing? That perfect verbs are used differently, like it has a different definition when it comes to Arabic? Are you arguing that it's not a perfect verb? What are you arguing? Do you not understand how perfect verbs work? Do you not understand their definition? I'll read it for you just so you don't say, oh, you're this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'll read it for you. Yeah, what is it? A perfect verb is a verb that is used to describe an action that has been, is being, or will be, pay attention, completed. Completed. A verb that is used to describe an action that has been, is being, or will be completed. So when the reading of the Quran has been completed, and you now believe and in your Lord put your trust, Satan will have no power over you. What's the problem? What is the problem? Now, what else did he argue? What else? Another argument, actually, honestly. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. Another argument that needs to be put to bed. Can you guys hear me? Mic check. Can you guys hear me? I want to make sure you guys can hear me first before I waffle on. Yeah. Yeah. Another argument that needs to be put to bed is this use of Surah Ahzab 21, where I was used to the Sunnis using it, and I mean, it's obvious why they would use it. But we have people referring to themselves as Quran alone who are trying to use this verse in order to justify coming up with literally whatever they want. And that is the verse that says, "The messenger of God has set up a good example for those among you who seek God in the last day and constantly think about God." Now, this verse is isolated from the context that it's in. And the reason it's isolated from the context that it's in is obviously the context would contextualize that verse to that context. And when you isolate it, you can now come up with whatever you want to, which we have seen people do. And what people do, and what our friend likes to do, Ashi Shoaib likes to do, is he likes to use this verse in order to justify his use of 11114, which speaks about a timing, as he says, or what he considers to be a timing for Salah. And the reason he uses that verse for this particular verse is because, as you can see from this verse is um, is speaking to the messenger himself. It is second person singular. Wa aqimis salah tarafiyin nahar wa zulufan min al-layl. It is addressing the messenger himself, no one else. So, in order to justify his use of a verse that's addressing the messenger himself, he isolates the verse in Ahzab to say, hey, although it's addressing the messenger is our role model, so we need to do what he did. That is the game he's playing. However, I want to quickly show you the context that the verse is contextualized for. So we will go back to 33:20. They thought that the parties might come back. In that case, they would wish that they were lost in the desert, asking about your news from afar. Had the parties attacked you while they were there with you, they would rarely support you. The messenger of God has set up a good example for those among you who seek God and the last day and constantly think about God. When the true believers saw the parties, they said, "This is what God and his messenger have promised us, and God and his messenger are truthful." This only strengthened their faith and augmented their submission. That is the context that particular verse is found in. So, ladies and gents, I put it to you, in that particular context, when it says the messenger has set up a good example, what is being spoken of here? What is being spoken of here in that particular context? Or is the verse not contextualized? Please tell me. Do you want me to read it for you guys again? Specific context. Is that verse not contextualized, or can it be used for anything like these people are doing? Context is king indeed. So when it says the messenger is a role model for us, in what sense in this particular context? I repeat, they thought that the parties might come back. In that case, they would wish that they were lost in the desert, asking about your news from afar. Had the parties attacked you while they were there with you, they would rarely support you. The messenger of God has set up a good example for those among you who seek God in the last day and constantly think about God. When the true believers saw the parties, they said, "This is what God and his messenger have promised us, and God and his messenger are truthful." This only strengthened their faith and augmented their submission. In what particular context is the messenger our role model? Come on, peeps, engage with me. I'm not like these YouTube muftis handing out fatwas, determining things. As a militant commander, absolutely. That's one thing found in this context. What else? We can put the militant commander into courage. So we see he's our role model in terms of courage, militant commander. What else? Spiritual guide and leader. Brilliant. So in a nutshell, in this particular context, what we find is the context is speaking about courage and having strong faith in a nutshell. Courage and faith, which the messenger was a great example of. He was an example of how to be courageous, and he was an example of how to be committed to your faith. Would anyone disagree? We find what we have evidence of in this context is how to be committed to your faith and how to be courageous. I don't see anything else in this context. So there is no grounds from this particular context to say, hey, this allows us to use verses that are addressing him alone. That's it. Thank you very much. So you cannot use this verse to say, hey, this allows us to basically use verses that are only addressing him. So there's no grounds for that. And then to make matters worse, why is it only addressing him? It can only be addressing him only because of something that only he can do, or something that only concerns him. Namely, only he's the messenger. You and I are not the messenger. He is. Now, I can prove that he's being addressed here because he is the messenger. Can they prove otherwise? Can they prove that he is being addressed here? I don't know, because he's a believer. Not because of he's not being addressed because of his title as a messenger, prophet, but no, he's being addressed because he's a believer. Do you think an argument can be made for that? Because if it had anything to do with addressing the fact that he believes, or him being a believer, then we would all be addressed. All the believers would be addressed. If it concerned all the believers, then all the believers would be addressed. The only reason it would address him alone is because he alone is the messenger. But the intent here is, thank you very much. And it happens consistently. In fact, all of the verses they use to make all of these random arguments, only he's being addressed. So 11:114, only he's being addressed. 17:78, look again. Only he's being addressed. Aqimi Salah liduluki shams. Aqimi. Singular. Thank you very much, Hamza. Yes, trusting in Allah under all situations. That's what we got from the context in 33:21. But 17:78, only he's being addressed again. Aqimi Salah liduluki shams. Only he's being addressed. Why is that? Because only he's the messenger. This is his job. In fact, he's being addressed because this is about his job, which I can prove. Hamza, forget about it. That's my teacher. If I can prove that, where do you think he stands? So yeah, again, proof of the fact that only he's being addressed. Look at the next verse. It goes on to address him alone. وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَجَهَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ. لَكَ. Credit for you. Singular. Addressing the messenger alone. Look. نَافِلَةً لَكَ عَسَىٰ أَنْ يَبْعَثَكَ رَبَّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا. Addressing the messenger alone. Because it's to do with his job. His job as a messenger. But I've addressed this topic so many times. I just want to address a few little things just to show you how impossible of a task these young men are giving themselves. So for instance, okay, I'll start with one. Just to remove this entire mystical, magical Arabic stuff, because that's the only way people are being intimidated. Everyone can do this. Honestly, no one needs me. You don't need anyone to play all, special for you. It's just people are being intimidated by using the language. That's all that's happening. So let's remove that intimidation. If we look at chapter 5:55, I'm going to show you guys something here. Absolutely. Absolutely. Abraham and those with him on top of that are referred to as an example. So if we look at 5:55, look at what it says. Only your ally is God and his messenger, and those who believe, and those who observe the Salah and give the Zakah, and they raki'un. And they raki'un. There's a reason why I chose this verse. And they raki'un. Where it says, and they raki'un, no one will say it's referring to a physical action. No one, not a Sunni. You can go to the most hardcore Salafi, the Arabic here simply does not allow the idea that it's referring to a physical action or an action of any kind. The word raki'un here, no one is going to tell you that it's referring to physically bowing or literally or actually making an action in this verse. Nobody. In this verse, wahum raki'un is speaking of their state. And their state is raki'un. This is a state that they were in. You can go to the most hardcore Salafi. So since it's referring to their state, and also look at the description, it's after telling us that they are those who believed, observed Salah, gave zakah. They are those who are of the state of raki'un. They are of this state. Wahum raki'un. Their state is humility. Or whilst being humble, if you will. Take a pick. This is not a physical, this is not an action. Yeah. Now, the reason I chose to show you guys this page, this verse, is that this description being made here, this state being spoken of here, this is a state that is always necessary. It's not a state that you can have sometimes and not have sometimes. So as long as you are of those who believe, those who observe Salah, and those who gave zakah, you will always have to be of those who are humble. So wherever you see Salah, zakah, and you see the term ruk'ah, you will have to always take it as it referring to humility, since that is always going to be necessary. So if there is something other than the humility, then that will have to be clearly identified. But this is always going to be the default, as you can see from this verse. Raki'un is always going to be the default necessary state. Now, let me quickly address a verse Hamza put up. Yeah. Chapter 108, basically. The famous Inna A'daynak. Only the messengers being addressed, because this is about it's about his mission. Indeed, we gave you the bounty, so fasalli li rabbaka wanhar. So let me look at which salli it is. Yeah, so commit to your Lord and sacrifice. Indeed, your enemy, he is the one cut off. So it's about the mission that the messenger was in, which is why it's only addressing him. But going back to the raka, I also want to show you that the same is said for sujood. So if you look at chapter 3, 113, it says, they are not all the same. Among the followers of the scripture, there are those who are righteous. They recite God's revelation through the night. Wahum yasjudun. You see, they recite the revelation of your Lord through the night or during the night, and they, wahum, and they. So this is another state that they are in being described here. And they are yasjudun. They are submitting. They are submitting. The reason why that's even necessary is because even a kafir can recite the revelation. Reciting the revelation doesn't mean anything until you have what? Until you have submitted. So they're not only reciting the revelation during the night, but they are submitting. This is their character. This is their nature. They are submissive to what they are reading. So notice in both instances, you have a state being spoken of. Raki'un yasjudun. Raki'un yasjudun. Both instances, you have a state being spoken of. The last one is actually the most difficult one for them to deal with, because sujood, which they love to use throughout the Quran, always comes as a result of having had the Quran recited to you, having had the Quran read out to you. So throughout the Quran, one of the verses they love using, 17:107. Yes, 17:107. Proclaim, believe in it or do not believe in it, those who possess knowledge from the previous scripture. When it is recited to them, they fall. This is what he likes to say. I'm going to go with his translation. They fall to their chins, sujjada. They fall to their chins, to. Yes, Ashi Shuaib. I know you like to point the fact that it says to and not on. Let's go with that. They fall to their chins, submitting. Now, besides the fact that he somehow argues that falling to your chin equals putting your head down on the ground, I don't know what language that works in. Besides the fact that he makes that argument, there is something else much more vital that he ignores or misses in this verse. And that is, when does this happen? When do these people fall to their chins? When does it happen? It happens when it is recited to them. When it is recited to them, not when they recite for themselves. During your ritual prayers, you recite for yourself. What it says here is when it is recited to them. Notice the difference here. When it is recited to them, they fall to their chins, etc., etc. But they do this. Are they commanded to do so? No. They do not do so because they are commanded to do so, but they do so as a result of having heard the Quran. Another argument I remember him making in one of his silly so-called I love the way Hamza termed it. Hamza said it's a ritual dua. That's precisely what it is. The ritual dua that he put up. He ignored or didn't understand the difference or tried to somehow convolute the difference and somehow mislead people. He ignored the fact that it says when it is recited to them, and in his video, he basically showed a scenario where he recites the Quran. There are people behind him and they overhear what he recites. They overhear what he recites. Overhearing and reciting are two different things. For some odd reason, he didn't understand that. You reading something and then people hearing you is called them overhearing what you have read. Unless you intended for them to hear you. If you intended for them to hear you, that's called reciting to them. If you're reciting to them, then they're not behind you. You don't give them your backs and recite to them. You would have to face them in order for you to recite to them. But then that would ruin your prayer. You can't have a prayer where you're facing people, can you? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you would like to argue that. You have prayers where you just, you know, circle around each other and, form a big circle and, I don't know, pray facing each other. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. So what was I saying? Yeah. So so your Salah tutorial, your Dua tutorial, where you have people behind you, does not equal reciting to them. If you're reciting to people, you have to face them. You have to at least address them. It has to be obvious that you're addressing them. But you want to call it prayer, so you're not addressing them. You're allegedly addressing God, because that's what prayer is. You see? Now, another thing. So you need to fix that up somehow. Another thing that I've noticed is you would like to argue that the word salah means prayer, regardless of the evidence. Like there's actual evidence. Like the Arabic is all there. It's not hidden. It's even in the Sunni books. If you go to the traditions of Ali, you will find Sabaqa Rasulullah wa Salla Abi Bakrin wa Thalatha Umarin. The Prophet was the forerunner. The Prophet was the message. Sorry, the messenger was the forerunner. Abu Bakr followed him closely, and what's it called? And Umar came after. Umar came third. You see, Salah as connection. You'll find that throughout Arabic. If you go to the Sunnis, they will tell you the idea that Salah means prayer is a Shar'i term. It's not hidden. But you wanted to deny all of that. When you was denying all of that, thinking you can intimidate people with the Arabic, you forgot how powerful the Quran is. This is what you guys always forget. Constantly thinking about focusing on the people that you are debating with, you forget how powerful the Quran is. Okay. The only thing we can see that Salah includes in the Quran, which you won't even disagree with, and even the sectarians won't disagree with, is the fact that Salah involves the reading of the Quran. You won't disagree with that. Okay? Salah involves the reading of the Quran. Now, Ashi Sha'ib tried to come up with his own little idea that no, although it says, recite the Quran, what we're going to do is we're only going to read the dua parts. We're not going to read chapters. We're not going to read, we're not going to read the Quran. We're just going to select the dua. Who gave you that? Where did you get that idea from? Who told you that? Who told you? Where does it say in the Quran? You follow only the Quran. Okay. Where does it say in the Quran that, what's it called? Yeah. Where does it say in the Quran that only read the dua parts? When you're establishing the salah, only read the dua parts. Where does it say that in the Quran? Mr. I follow only the Quran. Where does it say that? Nowhere. You made that up. But you want to have a go at the Sunnis and call them mushriks and everything under the sun when you're making things up yourself. It says that nowhere. Now, considering that it says that nowhere, and considering that all it says is Salah involves the reciting of the Quran, what part of the reciting of the Quran equals prayer? How is reading the Quran prayer? You want to change the definition of the word prayer now? I mean, if I read, right? Okay, I'll read a chapter right now. Did I just pray? Okay. Hey. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. Bam. I just read a chapter. Did I just pray? Ashi Shuaib. Did I just pray? Because you want to call Salah prayer, right? Salah involves the reciting of the Quran. There is nothing else that we can see that it involves. Where's the prayer part? I just read the Quran. Is reading the Quran prayer now? Or would you like to say, you know what? I'll throw you a lifeline. Would you like to say it's prayer because it involves bowing and prostrating? What part of bowing and prostrating equals prayer? Since when was bowing and prostrating prayer? In certain cultures, people bow and prostrate to their elders. They bow and prostrate to kings and such. Are they praying? What's it called again? Look at certain martial arts, jiu-jitsu and judo, and look at some of those martial arts competitions. Look at what they do. They bow. Are they praying? Justify the word prayer. You thought you could intimidate people with Arabic. Now we're at English. Now we're at English. What part of simply reading the Quran, let's say bowing, and let's say prostrating? Let's just go with that. Which part of those three equal prayer? I've just read Surah 108. Bam. Okay. Here. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. If I just add bow and prostration right now, I can do so. I can easily just get up right now, bow and prostrate. When did I pray? When? Even you knew at no point could you call it prayer. So what did you do? You thought, hey, let me just pick the dua parts of the Quran, the dua parts. But you forgot something though. The dua parts are called what? I'm saying it. Dua. They're called dua. Where's the salah in that? Are we now going to use salah and dua interchangeably? Is that what we're going to do? We know you can do dua for people. Can you do salah for people? Have you ever heard anyone say, so and so is sick, please do salah for them? Have you ever heard of that? There's a reason why you ain't never heard of that. So where's your arguments coming from? Where? What can you justify? What could you possibly justify? You can't justify sujood. The sujood you're talking about anyway. You can't justify the kneeling that you tried to come up with, where you just randomly go to a verse where David does something spontaneously, even though he doesn't actually kneel, but you randomly pick that out and go, hey, this is part of a ritual. I can't even see that. What did you say, bro? Oh, kitaban mawqutan. You know what, bro? No, we didn't resolve that. And the reason is because I'm trying to nip this in the bud by basically leaving them no room for any arguments. Exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to leave them with no room for any arguments. So, for instance, we've already removed the idea that 11114 وأقم الصلاة طرفي النهار وزلفا من الليل has anything to do with them because it's only addressing the messenger. We've already removed 1778, again only addressing the messenger. And another thing that they constantly ignore from 1778 is the fact that it says أقم الصلاة لطلوع الشمس. Li. The word li here is for or to. So the translation would be أقم الصلاة, stand the salah for decline of etc etc for, or say uphold the salah to decline of etc etc. And what that would do is that would automatically remove the notion that the idea that it's speaking about time. Can use because you don't use the word for or to speak of time. So I'll give you an example. So it would be uphold the salah for decline of the sun towards the obscurity of the night. For, you won't get time from that. You see? However, what you will get from that is a phenomena. And the proof of that fact is what follows. So the first phenomena is the first thing is something that you're going to do, and that is uphold the salah or uphold the connection. Why are you going to uphold the connection? For decline of the sun towards the obscurity of the night. This is what is happening. You see, this is the phenomena that is going on. And what you did is going to do something to this phenomenon. And what is going to do is, let me go to the verse. What it's going to do is wa Quran al Fajr, and the Quran, the dawn. You see? So the phenomena that was occurring is that the sun was declining, and understand what the sun represents. The sun was declining, and it was going towards the obscurity of the night. And there's a reason why it uses the word obscurity. Obscurity, you can't see, you're not guided. If it's obscure, then it's going to be difficult for you to be guided because you can't see anything. You see that? However, because of this salah, this connection being upheld by the messenger, since he's being addressed alone, is going to bring forth wa Quran al Fajr, and the Quran, the dawn. Darkness was spoken of, and the Quran here has been attributed with the dawn. Not just dawn, but the dawn. You see that? So the Quran is bringing a new dawn. You see that? And then what follows it proves it even further. Inna Quran al-Fajr kana mashhuda. Indeed, the Quran, the dawn, is witnessed. The very fact that the Quran is the dawn is witnessed. Witnessed by who? By the likes of you and I. So this has nothing to do with time. I don't even know how you got me there. Oh, that wasn't the plan tonight, but just to show you, it's only addressing the messenger. And if they're just honest with the word li, they can never argue that it has anything to do with time. But beyond that, though, I wanted to prove that it has nothing to do with prayer, even if they use the word prayer, because simply reciting the Quran cannot equate to prayer. Non-Muslims read the Quran. Non-Muslims read the Quran. People that are at least deemed to be disbelievers, they read the Quran. Are they praying? They're not praying, are they? You see? Um, Let me put the invite out there for you guys so you can come up anytime. Yeah, it's in the comments. So what I was saying, so no matter what they do, they can't get that argument. If they use these verses, they'll have to ignore the fact that it's addressing the messenger alone. They have to ignore the fact that when it says the messenger is a great role model for us, that it's in a specific context. So the verse being in that context does not allow them to just use verses where the messenger is being addressed alone. That's just pure. That's just ignoring the facts. That's all it is. If I'm going to be charitable, and the usage of the term prayer is not going to change the fact that all it involves is reading the Quran. Even if you insist even if you continue arguing that, oh, it also includes kneeling and prostrating, well, fine, throw in kneeling and prostrating, and you still don't have prayer. You still do not have prayer. Reading the Quran, kneeling and prostrating are not prayer. There's not one part that can be referred to prayer. You cannot, I told you, kneeling is not prayer. People kneel in all sorts of cultures. They bow in all sorts of cultures. They prostrate in all sorts of cultures. It's not prayer. Please, those of you in the comments, tell me if I'm wrong. Is bowing and prostrating prayer? Is it prayer? If you see someone bowing, if you see someone prostrating, are you going to think to yourself, they're praying? Is that the definition of prayer now? If we look up the definition of prayer, are we going to get, you know, bowing and or prostrating? Is it going to be among the list? A ritual act, yes, but who calls it prayer? So the usage of the word alone is going to mean absolutely nothing. Another thing that can't be ignored, which again proves the fact that this has absolutely nothing to do with the ritual, is yeah, is the fact that the messenger is the one who recites it to the people equals what? What does it equal? Look, 17:110. Say, invoke God or invoke the most gracious by whatever name you invoke him, then to him belongs the best names. Listen to this. And do not be loud in your salah. Be salatika, singular, addressing the messenger alone. Singular, messenger alone being addressed. Be salatika. In your salah, do not be loud, nor be silent, but seek a way in between. Look at the next verse. And say. So now he's being told what to say in his salah in a moderate tone. And what he's being told to say is found in verse 111, which is what? He's reciting the Quran. So the very fact that the messenger is reciting the Quran to the people, and that is called his salah, obliterates the idea that it has anything to do with a ritual, because the messenger conveying the message is him simply doing his job to its completion. It has an end. Once he's recited the Quran to the people, and the people now have the Quran, do you think he's going to continue reciting the Quran to the people? Is he going to continue reciting the Quran to the people? It's a means to an end. The point is for you to get the message. That's why he's a messenger. He's not there to continuously read the Quran to you forever. And even you and I, it has an end. Once we have understood the Quran, our job is to act on it and become a musalli. Not to just simply read it again over and over and over again. The point is for us to download the message, not for us to constantly have the message outside of us. You gotta download the message. So where's the ritual part gonna come in? It is quite clear from the Quran that the purpose of Salah is to gather around each other, or to gather around the messenger, for the messenger to convey the message to the masses. That's the only point of it. That's the only point of it. And the only point of the message is for us to download it and commit to it. Not to just have it outside of us and to just pick it up every now and again just for the sake of reciting it. No, the point is for you to download it, take it on board. So where's the ritual? Who was it a ritual for? Was it a ritual for the messenger? Was it a ritual for the messenger when he's conveying the message to the people? Because every single salah here that you will find throughout the Quran is one where he conveys the message to the people. So was he doing that as a ritual? Or was that his job? Was it his job to convey the message to them? Or was it just a ritual? Doing it for the sake of it? Now, my beef is not with the Sunnis today. My beef is with these semi-Sunnis trying to bring our position into disrepute. So what are you going to argue? Your arguments are that bad, and you wanna you wanna act like you can challenge Hamza Abdul Malik. You're having a laugh, mate. You're having an absolute laugh. Thinking you're insulting me, calling me a student of Hamza Abdul Malik. Absolute honor. What are you talking about? You thought that was an insult? Student of Hamza Abdul Malik. Honor. Are you mad? In fact, I will bet any money, I dare you to show me a bigger scholar than Hamza Abdul Malik in the topic of the Abrahamic religions. All of those books. The Quran and the previous books. Go ahead. Present to me a bigger scholar than Hamza Abdul Malik. And you think you're insulting me by calling me a student of a legend? You're having a laugh, mate. Absolute laugh. Guys, do me a favor, man. I want to take a little break. I've sent you guys the link. So come up, take over, and I'll join you guys in a minute. Yeah, I'll send you guys the link again. Come up and take over, man. Yeah, no worries, Renegade, bro. Yeah. Let me just quickly address something here. There is no beef with Sunnis. There's absolutely no beef, none whatsoever. I have not experienced any trauma with Sunnism. I don't have any issue with Sunnism. I've simply only ever been introduced to the Quran from a young age. I've read the Quran over and over again from a very young age. I've developed a bond with the Quran from a very young age. And I've simply tried to get to the bottom of certain terms that have been mistranslated in the Quran in order for me to just so that I can understand the Quran in its entirety. And the way that I simply got to the bottom of some of these terms that have been mistranslated in the Quran, actually my fellow Al Sunnah wal Jama'ah brethren, who I have no problem with, they have helped me out because they have told me that some of the words that have been translated in the Quran, some of the words some of the words in the Quran have been translated according to the Sunnah and according to the Shara'i definitions of said terms. However, the Arabic or the linguistic um, definitions of these terms are X, Y, and Z. Simple. And what I've done is simply applied those linguistic definitions or linguistic terms to the context found in the Quran, and I found that the problems disappear. That's it. If there has been a motivation for me to maybe want to do that, then it's been the fact that in order to justify the hadiths and the sunnah, etc., etc., I found that people or some people will go to the lengths of undermining the Quran and saying, saying stuff, for example, like, if you follow the Quran alone, then how will you know how to pray? As far as I'm concerned, that undermines the Quran. That basically associates a flaw with the Quran because now it associates a lack with the Quran. Now the Quran lacks something. But the impression I've had from the Quran from a very young age is that it absolutely lacks nothing. That's what's so impressive about it, is the fact that it lacks nothing. So, because I was under the impression that the Quran I know cannot lack anything, I had to go back to those. I had to go back to those definitions and get to the bottom of them. And once I got to the bottom of them, I've seen that it's not that the Quran lacks anything, but it's that the Quran is being associated with a narrative other than its own. So if you just look at the Quran on its own terms, then all of the arguments disappear. It's just that these arguments are made by using a Sunni narrative or using the Al Sunnah narrative, which fair enough. I mean, their argument is simply that the Islam they know is Islam according to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. That's it. And I'm fine with that. If you want to have an Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah view of Islam, then it's not my position to say that you can't. However, there is a Islamic view of Islam. Do you see? There's a Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah view of Islam. There's a Shia view of Islam, but there is also an Islamic view of Islam, meaning Islam, which is a term introduced as a concept by the Quran. Therefore, the Quran itself has its own narrative. So that's all it is. So when you hear Quran alone, or the people that they refer to as Quranists, it's simply people who want to understand the Quran on its own terms. That's all. So this thing with hating the Sunnah and constantly going on about the Sunnah and calling people PDF files and all of that nonsense, That's not us. That has nothing to do with this position. Rapping and whatnot. Oh my days. Come up. I already gave you guys. There you go. But if you can't come up, you can ask the question from the comments. But like I said, I've already posted the link for you guys. You need to come up because I need to take a break. If you guys don't come up, I'll take a break and you know, you'll be looking at a blank screen. So rather than looking at a blank screen, does someone want to come up and entertain the audience? There we go. Put your camera on first, Omar. Just want to have a quick look and make sure you're not trolling. All right, no trolls. Peace,
Yo, hear me?
peace.
Wait, hold up. I think I have your YouTube stream. Okay, so there's no echo. Is my audio good?
Yeah, your audio is good. Your audio is good.
Okay, I just have one question. I'm not. I don't know why it says Omar Ibn Suleiman, but but I have a question
You can
about.
be Omar Ibn Suleiman for tonight.
Yeah, yeah. So I have a question regarding the criteria that the Quran sets. With I think there's. I'll be honest with you. Before I ask the question, I was studying like scripture and this sort of stuff like a year ago. I haven't been in it, but it's like I've never caught your streams live before, and I saw your streaming. I had this question in the back of my mind for a while, so I thought I'd get on it and ask you. But there's like a criteria that the Quran sets out, if I'm remembering correctly, saying that something along these lines that no one can recreate a surah like this or a verse like this. And
Yeah, I
I
understand.
don't. So what I don't understand with it though is how do you define if it is actually like a surah like this? Like I just think it's not specific enough, and I don't feel like it's a valid criteria that is laid out in the Quran, and that's something that I've always wondered, you know. So yeah, I mean, if you can answer, I'd love to hear it.
I hear you, bro. I hear you. Um, I would love to answer your question, and to be honest, I think I have a few ideas, and perhaps you know
Yeah,
that I could answer you with. But I don't want you to misunderstand my intent behind these lives and the discussions that I have.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't do apologetics,
Yeah,
meaning
I saw your stream on that. So I get that. I get this is not something like you're like some scholar or something, and I just come on here and just question you for to see if I should like join your cult or anything. I know that's nothing like that, but I mean, you're someone who seems like you've studied a lot, so I thought maybe you had an answer for it or not, you know? But
no, I appreciate that. I really do. But the thing is, you see, there was something Hamza Abdul Malik said in one of his latest videos that I really appreciated, which is something that I always used to think to myself, and I didn't find anyone else actually address that, and that is when it comes to the Quran, there are no questions and answers. There is literally no questions that you have that there is any human being out there could answer you. And the reason for that is if you look at chapter 5, 101,
yeah,
it says, it says, O you who believed, do not ask about matters which, if revealed to you prematurely, would hurt you. Now listen to this. If you ask about them in light of the Quran, they will become obvious to you. God has deliberately overlooked them. God is forgiver, clement. The part I want you to pay attention to
yeah,
is if you ask about them in light of the Quran, or if I go to the word for word, which is even better, it says, but if you ask about it while the Quran is revealed, it will be apparent to you. Do you notice
Mm.
something there?
Yeah, it says while it's being revealed.
So what
Does
is
that
that? Go ahead.
is that meaning? I, I've heard a lot of takes about um, like prophets and stuff, and like this has to do with what you said. Like, and again, I haven't studied this deeply, and to be honest, at the moment, I don't really have the time for it, but I do plan on doing it at some point. But like some friends that I know who've studied it like for a while, they say that their like interpretation of it, like many people, is that the prophets, at least Muhammad and the was it Moses and Jesus, are are like allegorical characters. So their names are like if you break down their names in Arabic, and I'm not an Arab, so I don't know, but if you break it down, it's actually describing the characteristics of someone, and they never actually existed, is what they're saying. But just an allegorical character. You're embodying certain characteristics, and they're like a representation of that. If that makes sense. And I asked them, okay, well, if that's the case, um how was the Quran revealed, right? And they said that, and again, they didn't really explain this part to me, but they said that they believe with the research that they've done that it has to do with like it was there from the beginning of the time. If that makes sense. Like beginning, like when Earth or whatever was created, it was also there. Like it was part of the starter pack, as one would say. But yeah. Anyways, I'm not exactly sure whether
Okay, let me,
you.
let me let me tell you the point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
The point I was trying to make is that what that verse shows us is that if there are any questions regarding the deen, then those questions will be answered while the Quran is being revealed. Or in a nutshell, those answers will be in the Quran.
Okay,
So
like that. Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
seeing that it says those answers will be in the Quran, there can be nobody who's in a position to answer any questions.
Right. Okay.
Does that
I
do you get
thought you
that?
were saying. Sorry. Go on.
No, do you get that? I mean, the fact that it
No,
says
yeah, I
yeah,
understand. I
that,
thought I
that,
thought you
that
meant.
removes that removes the idea that they can be muftis and scholars and all of
I
this.
agree with.
It
Yeah,
removes
yeah,
it.
I've never agreed with like the authoritative like supremacy that some of these guys have. Um, so yeah, yeah, I get that. I thought you originally meant like, oh, while it was being revealed, so you could like ask the prophets or whatever questions. I thought that's what you meant, but okay,
Yeah,
that makes more sense. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
You know what though? I desperately need a little break. I've been waffling for God knows how long. I don't know why. I don't know. People must be busy tonight. I don't know why they're not coming up. But I mean, if you want, you can entertain. What's it called? The audience. But I'm gonna have to mute for a minute, man.
No, I don't got. No, I haven't got anything to say to be honest. I have another question, but I mean, I'll ask you when your break's done. I'll just mute up as well.
Yeah, yeah. I need a little break. So I'll catch you
Yeah.
soon.
Okay.
the mushriks, the words of the prophets are in the hadith. Hey, Hamza Malik. Anyways, I don't want to do 4 hours just like you. Going through your videos is just a waste of time for me because I can debunk all your claims with the blink of an eye. You are not making sense, Hamza Malik, to be honest. You are just comfortable in your own space and thinking you are trying to refute a correctional officer. I'm going to correct a correctional officer. No, you are not my match, to be honest. Look, ask the mushriks why they are running away from Baba Shrike. I dare you, Hamza Malik. You say you're coming for debate, right? I dare you. Come. And on that day, I'm going to set you up as a scapegoat. No mercy for you this time. No issue like, oh, you are paps or anything. Since you say you are going to skin me alive, we are going to see. All my arguments that you tackle, I'll give you the chance. You can choose any topic. Let's go step by step. Then I'll show you how naive you are in terms of understanding the Quran. We are going to put your Arabic prowess also to the test to make sure you study some basics in Arabic. Lexicons, those lexicons, Lisan in Arab, you don't even know how to use it. You put a verse on the screen, you cannot even read it. And the real Mishizi sniper, don't. Hamza Malik wants to be fair. I know. People don't know him, so I have to mention him for people to know him. Yeah. I need to mention Hamza Malik. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, the man was thinking he would give me assignments so that I will now make him famous by always coming to talk about him, his videos, give him reply so that he can get attention. That's what he wanted me to do. If I have to do that, I'm going to crash you. My video is there. All I'm asking for is I dare you guys to step forward. I don't have time. Put it to the test. Tell the hypocrite and the mushriks. Baba Shuaib has a platform. Go and face him. Wallahi, they don't dare. The best they can do is to come and insult me on my platform. That's all they can do. But to logically go head to head, logically with reasoning, wallahi, they cannot stand me. Because God has given me a gift. And what I'm doing is based on the gift God has given. I'm not here to play with the people's conscience. So if you think Baba Shuaib is here misleading the people, I'm here. I will prefer you come and embarrass me in front of my audience. Prove to my audience that I'm a liar or I'm misleading the people. That is the best way to do. If you stay far away with 20 viewers and then you throw stones at me, no problem. Keep doing it. Like that shows how little you are. When I have my platform and I'm actually inviting for dialogue, inviting for debates, come to Baba Shuaib. They will not have come. So that tells you something. Unlike the scholars, I'm giving my number there. I'm calling for challenge. Come and disprove me. Both the mega hypocrites, the mushriks, take any claim I've said out there. Let's deliberate on it. And let's see if your logic can stand the test of time in front of the correctional officer.
Maybe. Yeah. Peace. Can you guys hear me? Great entertainer. Absolutely. I give him that. The kid's a great entertainer. You know what? Not only him, but his weird looking friend. What's his name? MFG. Well, definitely the MF part is right. But yeah, they're both great entertainers. I give them that. You know. In fact, you know what? Um, I once said to him, and he took great offense to it. But you guys are gonna have to excuse me now and move away from kids if you're around them. I once said, I'm nothing like you YouTube motherfuckers. And there's a reason why I said that. I mean, for crying out loud, I'm simply not a YouTube character. But these guys are forcing me to have to address them. And the only reason I'm having to address them is because there's already enough confusion with the Sunnah. I mean, there's so many sects among the Sunnis and Shias themselves. There is no confusion with the Quran alone, and unfortunately, I just can't allow them to bring the position into disrepute. And and these guys are just great entertainers. And proof of the fact that they're great entertainers and nothing more. Omar, come back when you're ready, bro. Yeah. Proof of the fact that they're great entertainers and nothing more is please just look at their let me show you something. Just look at their channels. You will find absolutely nothing but just titles designed to rile people up, especially the Sunnis. That's all they're designed for. There's nothing. They're never actually teaching any topic from the Quran, not one. They're not addressing a single topic from the Quran. It's always the Sunnis this, the Sunnis that, the Sunnis this, the Sunnis that. Nothing else. Don't believe me? Look at their channels. Look. Let's go to videos.
I dare you, Hamza Malik. You see?
Yeah. Look. It's all designed for drama. Every single title. Look. 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 You won't see a single thing addressing the shocking truth about Salah. Let me address that one quickly. Because he knew he couldn't address the so-called ruku' and sujood, he was reduced to only addressing the so-called standing. The entire video is about how standing is necessary from the Quran. However, he ignores the simple fact that he can't ignore, and that is that even if you want to translate aqimi or aqimu as stand, there's something that it's always connected to, which removes the idea that is talking about physically standing up, etc., etc. And that is as-salah. Aqimi as-salah or aqimu as-salah. So take a pick. Even if you say stand, what follows the stand? Stand the salah. Stand the salah. Not stand for the salah, not stand up or no, nothing to suggest that you need to physically stand, but stand what? Stand the salah. So even the one argument he thought, you know what, perhaps I can use this, which is standing. The standing itself is not talking about the individual, but rather it's talking about the salah. Standing the salah. Standing the salah itself. Which means keeping the salah erect, like he likes to say. That's a word he likes to use. Keeping the salah standing, keep upholding the salah, observing the salah. Take a pick, standing, representing the salah, but it's not stand for. That preposition is not there. So that's the one video he tried. Look at the rest. Look at the rest. Just drama. Just drama. Look, hypocrites. This will blow your mind. The will of the Prophet. They lied to you about Salatul Jummah, exposing lies, the truth behind Aki Ayman. This is what I mean by YouTube, motherfucker. Look at this. The truth behind Aki Ayman. He's trying to reach out to the what's it called? He's trying to reach out to a bigger audience, he's trying to get as much views as possible. Oh, those of you who know about Aki Ayman, guess what? I'm saying something about him. Come and look. Come and watch my video about him. Prince Mushrik, Omar Suleiman. Look at this. Finding the month. We're going to discuss that, Mr. Following the Quran alone. You're going to show us from the Quran how to find a month. Isn't that great? Exposing the false intercession used by Noman Ali Khan. As you guys can see, there is nothing actually addressing topics from the Quran alone. It's all just drama. This is what I mean by YouTube, motherfucker. This is a Ali Dawa. This is a Muhammad Hijab. That's the type of people he wants to be. But he's trying to be those type of people in the wrong arena, claiming to follow only the Quran, and then basically trying to look for drama. As you can see. Now his friend is the same way. His friend is exactly the same way. Where is it?
Said. Chapter 21.
His friend might even be funnier, to be honest, because his friends come up with some. He has these things. What the hell is a sermon? Weekly sermon. What the hell is that? What the hell is a sermon in the name of following the Quran alone? Can you find such a thing from the Quran? A sermon? Can you even justify that from the Quran? A sermon. But look, the Quranists you love to hate, dealing with deluders, challenge a Quran alone Muslim, trading the verses, do Sunnis know? None of the 7 recitations, hypocrites, Satan misleads the Sunnis. Look, look, little funny little shorts, you know, such an entertaining fella. There is not one video addressing anything from the Quran. I became a Sunni, Quranic methodology, Andrew Tate, Sunnis twisting history, Saudi won Gaza, Aisha. Look, I told you they like to use Islamophobic material. The curse of idolatry. Look at that. Nothing from the Quran. So they're just entertainers. And to be honest with you, I find them quite entertaining myself. I ain't even gonna lie, I find them quite entertaining myself. You know? But following the Quran is a serious business. It's not entertainment. The discussions or disagreements we have with Sunnis is a serious business. It's not entertainment. It's not about, you know, I don't know what they think this is. But let me just wrap this up because this has been going on for a bit too long for my liking now. But bottom line is this. I like the Sunnah. I really do. And the reason I like the Sunnah is for no other reason other than the fact that it proves the difference between something from God and something from men. It shows the clear difference between the two. So for that reason, I like the Sunnah or the Hadiths. I really do. Another reason I like the Sunnah is that it shows the difference. Again, it shows the difference between the unity that God wants to create for us and the arbitrary division that men would love to create. For instance, when people claim, like yourselves, that they don't follow the Sunnah, and yet they want to be inspired by the Sunnah, Are you the same guy here?
Yeah, what's up, bro? Oh, keep
Is
going though.
that
Keep
you?
going. Sorry.
Yeah, go on mute for a moment then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another reason I like the Sunnah is when people are clearly inspired by the Sunnah and then they try to bring their Sunni inspired idea to the Quran and saying that they follow the Quran alone. It shows how easy it is to prove that they really do not follow the Quran alone, because there is no idea that you can actually associate with the Quran. If it's not from the Quran will automatically reject it. There is absolutely not a single idea that you can associate with the Quran. It automatically won't work. So, for instance, you would like to replace the Sunnis. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to be the new Sunnis, a new, modern, moderate, soft Sunni, basically. You're a soft Sunni, you know? You don't have to pray 5 times. You can pray 3. You don't have to pray 4 units, 3 units. You can pray 1. Some of you say 2. So you're trying to soften the blow for people, as I can see. I mean, good try. But bottom line is this: the Quran will not allow you to insert such those kind of ideas. and I'll prove to you that the Quran won't allow you to insert such ideas. You would like to have sujood and ruku' as part of your ritual. I've showed you from the Quran that at no point can you find sujood after one has engaged in Salah himself. At no point. The only time you find sujood is when the Quran is recited to people. And that is very different from your ritual dua. In your ritual dua, people overhear you. You never intend to read to them. According to you, you're reading for yourself. Apparently, you're not even reading for God. You're reading for yourself. So they are overhearing you, my friend. Learn the difference between someone overhearing you and you reciting to them. You can't have the timings or the so-called timings that you would like to use, because I showed to you in clear terms that they are addressing the messenger alone. You cannot use the role model argument because the role model argument was in a specific context. Don't believe me? Read from 33:20 to 22. I dare you to read that entire context to your audience and then argue I can use this verse to say that verses that are only addressing the messenger is also speaking to us. Go ahead and make that argument. I've also showed you, although you would love to try and intimidate people with I speak Arabic, that there is no prayer, there is nothing to call prayer about someone simply reading the Quran, and even if we add bowing and prostrating, the word prayer does not fit. You say you can read the dua parts. Who told you? Mr. I follow the Quran alone. Who told you you can read the Quran part, the dua parts? Was you inspired with that? What else? Yeah, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. You didn't address the perfect verb, did you? But you can have that conversation with Hamza Abdul Malik. But what you can't tell anyone What you can't tell anyone is, what did the verse say? Let's go to the verse. What are you going to do with this? It says, so when you recited the Quran, then seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. Look at the next verse. Indeed, there is not for him any authority over those who believed and in their Lord put their trust. So when is the saying going to come? If he has no authority over those who believe and in their Lord put their trust, when do they need to say? For instance, you and I are believers. We believe in God. We put our trust in our Lord. So when do we need to say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim? Considering that God tells us in no uncertain terms that he has no power over us for simply believing. He has no power over us. So when do we need to say it? And when do we believe and have trust in our Lord? Is it before or after we have read the Quran? Is it during reading the Quran? Is it after we have completed the Quran? When does the belief and trust come? Mind you, we already have a verse that addresses that. When God tells those people to say that they have aslamta and not to say that they have believed, to say that they have surrendered and not believed, because it's a different stage. Belief, you have no doubts whatsoever, as it says in the following verse. So, when is the A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim going to come? At no point. So, what now? What now? You want to go Ramadan? You won't get Ramadan. You won't get your fasting. I'll run rings around you on that one. You won't get your fasting following the Quran alone. Hajj, even worse. In fact, Hajj is probably the easiest one, because there is no verse that addresses the believers and commands the believers to engage in Hajj. Not a single verse. In 22:26, we have Abraham being told to call the people to Hajj, and they come to him. They don't come to a place, they come to him. Don't believe me? Read 22. Yeah, read 22:27. وَأَذْنَ فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ يَأْتُوكَ رِجَالًا. يَأْتُوكَ. They will come to you. And who are the people that will come to Abraham? The people, not believers, but people. And those people are coming to Abraham. You want to go? Would you like to argue? Would you like to argue for chapter 2, 196? Is that what you would like to argue for? That one isn't addressing the believers either. It says, وَأَتِمُّ الْحَجْ وَعُمْرَةَ لِلَّهِ. And complete the Hajj and Umrah for God. Complete. Something being completed. Who's it addressing? Who's it telling to complete? It ain't telling you and I. We can go to the verses before, and I can show you that the context starts from 190, to keep it simple. And fight in the cause of God those who fight you, and do not transgress. Indeed, God does not love the transgressors. It's addressing the messenger and those with him. Look it up. It's not addressing believers. In fact, It can't address believers. And I'm going to prove to you why it can't address believers. I'm going to use the very same verse that they would argue is the verse telling us to engage in Hajj. So if you look at 397 and 398, do you guys want me to put it on camera for you, on the video? What? All right. Now look at that, yeah? What did I put? 97? Okay, fine. I'll read 96 for you guys. Yeah, look, 96. All right. All right, watch this, yeah? 96. إن أول بيتي وضع للناس للذي ببكة مباركا وهدى للعالمين. Indeed, the first structure set up for the people, surely the one with Becca, Mubarakan, blessed. Look at the qualities attributed to this structure. It's a blessed structure and a guidance for the people. 97. Yeah, 97 is already there. In it are signs clear. In this structure are clear signs. مقام إبراهيم ومن دخل كان آمنا. And the position of Abraham, and whoever enters it, then he will have safety. Whoever enters it, he will be safe. So now, considering the attributes of this particular structure, it's blessed and it's a guidance for the people. In it are clear signs. And the position of Abraham, status of Abraham, and whoever enters it, he will have safety. And then after giving you all of those attributes, actually, before we move on to after giving you those attributes, is a believer lacking those attributes? Let me put it that way. Is a believer lacking those attributes? Does a believer already have something that is blessed, guidance for the people, in it are clear signs and the status of Abraham, and whoever enters it will have safety? Does a believer lack those qualities, or do believers already have something with all of those qualities? I'll put it to you guys. Do believers already have something with all of those qualities, or are believers lacking and in need of something with those qualities? Okay, I'll repeat the question. The question is, in 396 and in 97, we're told about a structure that has certain attributes. Those attributes are that it is blessed, that it's guidance for the people, that in it you will find that in it are clear signs, the status of Abraham, and whoever enters it will have safety. So, considering those qualities, do believers already have something with those qualities, or are believers lacking something with those qualities? Believers. $396.97. Which one is a believer lacking? So believers have, says the observer. I agree. What about the rest of y'all? Is there any one of you right now sitting at home that thinks they're lacking something mentioned in these two verses? Something that is blessed, guidance for the people, in it are clear signs, status of Abraham, and whoever enters it will have safety. Is there any believer who lacks something with all of those qualities? Because if you accept that believers already have all of those qualities, then what follows is not addressing us. And that is, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا وَمَنْ Allahu Kabir. Absolutely. Now look at what follows. What follows cannot be addressing us because we already have those qualities. So what follows is what? Walillahi ala nas, and upon the people. Doesn't say believers now. Upon the people. You see? Upon the people is what? Walillahi ala nas Hijjul Bayt, that they do Hijj al Bayt. I'm not even gonna translate it for now, but I just want to show you guys that it's not even addressing believers. So number one, it says people, and then number two, look what it goes on to say. Hijjul Bayt, Minister ilayhi sabila, for him who is able, waman kafara. Look at the opposite. And he who disbelieved, you see? So the opposite for the people not to do Hijjul Bayt if they are able is to disbelieve. You see that? So one, it's the people being addressed. And two, it is said of the people that if they are able, if they do not do the Hijjul Bayt, then they will have kafara. And then God says, then indeed God is free from needs from all the worlds. So who are the individuals that need to do Hajj? The individuals that need to do Hajj are individuals that need to get to this position. Very well said, Imad. That the individuals that need to do Hajj are individuals that need to acquire this structure that has these attributes. The attributes being blessed, and a guidance for the people, and in it are clear signs, status of Abraham, and whoever enters it will have safety. You see that? So the people need to do Hajj so that they can get to this bait, so that they can get to this structure. However, the believers are already there. Do you guys follow me? The believers are already inside the bait of God. Absolutely. BS. All right. Can you also, when Abraham elevated the foundation min al bait? Well, precisely. Um, you want to take us there, Mirza? All right, cool. Before we go there, because that one doesn't use the word Hajj, so I want to end Hajj with this. Hajj is found in 396, 397. It's found in chapter 2, 190 and onwards, where it's addressing the Prophet and those with him. And it's also found in Surah Hajj, where it's addressing Abraham. I know it's also found in chapter 9 and I believe chapter 14, but it's about the same things, either addressing those with the Prophet or addressing Abraham. So at no point is there a command for the believers, or you who believe you need to engage in Hajj. There is no such thing. So we don't even need to get to the point of arguing about what does the word mean and going back and forth about, you know, Arabic and you don't understand Arabic. We don't even need to go down that entire route. At no point are believers commanded to engage in Hajj. No point. Oh my God, this stuff takes time. I can't believe how long I've been on it already. Oh my days. So yeah. All right. Lastly, I'm just gonna address Mirsa's point, chapter 2, 125. So yes, chapter 2, 125. Let me take you there as well. Unfortunately, those are the standard translations, and there's nothing I can do about them. But I like how Mirsa highlighted the points that really matter, and that is that it says, "And when we made the house, the structure, a structure is actually a lot easier to be consistent with because the term structure will then be defined by the context with what type of structure being spoken of, whether material or immaterial. Um, and when we made the structure a focal point for the people in security, actually that's not even the point we want. We want 127. And when Abraham raised the foundations, al qawaid, the foundations from the structure, when Abraham raised the foundations from the structure. So this structure is there. Abraham raises the foundations from this structure, or even raises the foundation of the structure. Now, the answer to what is these foundations are, the answer is on the same verse, not to do sharp. Beautiful. Beautiful. So now, unless you unless you basically um, unless you bring basically a Sunni narrative or a Shia narrative and look at the Quran with those lenses, you couldn't conclude from this verse nor this context that it's speaking about a building. Period. You couldn't conclude that. So if you just remove those lenses and you just read the Quran for what it is, as Mirza said in the comments, you will find that the foundations are as it states in the next verse, or as it states in the context entirely, which is when Abraham raised the foundations of the structure, and Ishmael saying, "Our Lord, accept from us indeed, you are the hearer, the omniscient. Our Lord, make us surrenderers to you, and from our descendants a community of surrenderers to you, submitters to you, and show us our sacrifices and forgive us. Indeed, you are the acceptor, most merciful." Our Lord raised up among them a messenger from them. He will recite for them the revelations. See, notice it's always about the revelation. The revelation, your verses, he will teach them the scripture and the wisdom, and it will purify them. Indeed, you are the Almighty, most wise. So it's about the scripture. Or if we go back to 125, I think my friend was referring to chapter 22, 26, what debate is about. Yes, it's in chapter 2, 26, brother. It says here, وَإِذْ بَوَأْنَا لِإِبْرَاهِيمَ مَكَانَ الْبَيْتِ, and here's the purpose of the debate. أَنْ لَا تُشْرِكْ بِي شَيْئًا وَظَهَرَ بَيْتِي لِلطَّائِفِينَ وَالْقَائِمِينَ وَالرُّكُعِ السُّجُودِ. The purpose of the debate is that you do not associate with me anything. That's what the structure represents. The purpose of debate, the purpose of the structure, or even the house in this particular context, is that you do not associate with God anything. That's the purpose of debate. That's what debate represents. Not associating with God anything. And then it goes on to say, to purify this structure, to make certain that there is no associations with God in this particular structure. And then it goes on to say who it's for, namely those around and those near and those far. And what ruku is sujud, again, this is about their characteristics, that they are humbly submissive. What ruku is sujud. There is no and in between, so it is not speaking about two separate actions, but namely the characteristics of these people near and far, that they are humble and submissive. So with that being said, if what you would like to do is reform the Sunnah, then please go right ahead. Go have your discussions with Sunnis, have your discussions with Shia, and get to the bottom of things and fix what you can fix. But this idea that you follow the Quran alone, and following the Quran alone equals constantly going on about the hadiths and the Sunnah, constantly disrespecting Sunnis and the hadiths, just non-stop, and then trying to remix some of the Sunni practices in the name of following the Quran alone, you will never get away with that. You will never, ever, ever get away with that. I won't let you get away with that. Hamza won't let you get away with that. I promise you, most people that follow the Quran, they won't let you get away with that. People that follow the Sunnah can see through you. Shias can see through you. What are you doing? You're creating a cult in social media. That's all you're doing. In fact, proof of the fact that this is a social media cult is you couldn't even have a mosque. If you had a mosque right now, as people who reject the hadiths, what are you going to do? Where are you going to face? How many raka'ahs are you going to pray? Raka'ah are you going to perform? How many units? Where are you going to face? Imagine a hadith rejected mosque. What are you going to do? Who's the imam? Is there such a thing in the Quran? What are you going to recite? Who's going to determine what to recite? How many units? Are you going to kneel? Are you going to bow? What if people bow facing each other? Since there is no direction, right? Some of you say there is a direction. Some of you say there is no direction. So what are you going to do? So what are you going to do? Imagine you're in a building where you face each other. What kind of chaos is that? Some of you want to do 1 unit. Others want to do more, 2 units. Who's right? Some of you talking about, I pray for 4 hours. Some of you talking about, no, we don't need to recite everything in the Quran. We can recite just the dua. And make matters worse, even a mosque. Can you justify that from the Quran? A building where it is designed for the sole purpose of rituals. Can you justify that from the Quran? Which word is that? Is it masjid? Can you even find from the Quran where Salah and masjid are associated with each other? How about sujood and masjid are associated with each other? Can you get that? When are you gonna fast? How are you gonna agree on when to fast from the Quran? When? How long for? How long are you gonna fast for? And that's before I even come to you with what's it called? With كلوا واشربوا حتى يتبين لكم الخيط الأبيض من الخيط الأسود من الفجر. Is that a minimum or a maximum? That's before I hit you with that. Because once I hit you with that, it's game over. And then you might come back with ثم أتم الصيام إلى الليل. And then I will tell you, look at the usage of the term ila as it's written in that particular sentence. Look at the usage of it throughout the Quran. It's never until. In fact, it's always to. So without the word until, now what are you going to do? Mr. I follow the Quran alone. Now what are you going to do? You don't have until nothing, and you don't have a maximum. You don't have 30 days. You don't have 20 days. What are you going to do? You have no Hajj. We've already shown it to you. You have no Salah ritual. You will never. In fact, how about this? I'm the one that made you put that video down. And furthermore, I'm the reason you will never put up a video about how to do a Salah. You will never do it. I promise you, you will never dare. Because you know what I'll do to it. So what are you going to do? You're going to have to look for another niche, man. This ain't the place. You're making us look bad with your absolute nonsense. You want a religion? Go follow the Sunnah. That's what it's there for. What do you think the Sunnah is there for? You think Sunnis didn't see that the Quran is not conveying an organized? That's the reason they have the Sunnah. So that's already been taken. In fact, it's been taken the best way possible. Companions, chain of transmission, and all kinds of decoration. Same with the Shias, family, blessed, all kinds of decorations. What are you going to turn up with? What are you going to turn up with? I'm special. God chose me. Those that challenge me hate me. That's what you're going to turn up with? People hate me. So seriously, do yourself a favor. Like, you've created a blatant cult. Hamza tried to challenge your assertions. Just for challenging your assertions, look at what your cultist fans did in his comments, calling him everything under the sun. What kind of cultish behavior is that? Do none of you know how to debate people or something? Do you have to resort to insulting people? Anyways, whoa, I can't believe this. See, this stuff kills my time, man. This is why I hate coming live. But yeah, how to be like Shoaib. Oh my, actually Shoaib, how to be like what? I know, I've noticed they've literally created a cult. Both of them. Look at the other one as well. They've both created cults. You can't create cults in the name of following the Quran alone. What do you think this is? Talking about weekly sermons. Weekly sermons. You're having a laugh. Weekly sermons. Unbelievable. Khutbahs, you know. But yeah. Anyways, guys, yeah, I'm gonna have to leave y'all now. It's been long enough. But seriously, this it's not personal. It's really not personal. It's just this position cannot be put in disrepute because it's the only flawless thing there is on earth. The only flawless thing there is. Everything else on earth, you know, people can argue about. There's flaws that can be easily be highlighted with every idea on earth. The only thing which you cannot associate any flaws with is the Quran. So when you say you follow the Quran alone, and then you bring your own funny little ideas and whatnot, then you now want to associate your flaws to the Quran. What are you doing? You have a problem with Sunnis? You have a problem with the Sunnah? Go have a word with them. Or go sit down somewhere and sort your issues out. But don't try and claim you follow the Quran alone and then just bring your own whatever. Unbelievable. Really unbelievable. But anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. That will do for tonight. And I'm sure this drama will continue. But it is what it is. Bottom line is this. One thing will be made clear without a shadow of doubt. And that is that those entertainers calling themselves Quran alone, they do not follow the Quran alone. They are entertainers who are trying to seek fame and attention, riding the Islamophobic narrative that is prevalent in the media. Both them and the ex-Muslims, they're both trying to gain attention by just going with the Islamophobic material in the media. That's it. That's all they're trying to do. It's all for show. It's all for show. Go look at Hamza's videos. You won't see Hamza talking about the hadiths and whatnot, and the sunnah, and he's not interested. Go look at my videos. I'm not interested. The point isn't to be anti-hadith. The point is to be pro-Quran. So unless you can discuss the Quran without adding anything, without taking away anything, don't claim to follow the Quran alone. And please go seek your fame somewhere else. That'll do for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Peace.